The mind of a soccer coach is one of the most interesting things there is, isn't it? Some put reason above everything like tactical matters and see soccer as something almost scientific. Others prefer to put the human side first, letting emotions often guide the decisions on the field. But when we look at the landscape of soccer coaches, the most interesting thing about all this is that both can win, and even with very different paths, reach the final result. And in this video, the idea is to dive into the minds of the coaches and understand how such different ways of thinking can lead to the same result. If we look at the World Cup, for example, Thomas Tuchel was perhaps the most criticized coach of the tournament. Dumb, cowardly, pulled the team back, invited the opponent on. These were just some of the adjectives used to describe the Germans' performance in England's loss to Argentina after giving up the lead. And coincidence or not, right after that result and after what I also thought was a catastrophic performance by Tuchel, an interview with Cesc went viral. Fábregas, who is the coach of Como, had a great European season, talking exactly about the reasons why a coach shouldn't pull the team back when they're winning the game 1-0, like what happened with Tuchel. Check it out.
If you are winning 1-0, for example, and you are playing a 4-2, let's say a 4-3, and you change a midfielder or a striker, and you put in a defender in the last 10 or 15 minutes, and you're playing with a back five, all of a sudden a five-man defense, all of a sudden, because you saw from the outside that they are playing with really high fullbacks, or whatever the reason. You are doing it for a reason from the outside, but inside the players see that he's taken a striker off and put a defensive player on. So automatically your mindset is, the coach wants us to defend. We have to sit back, and you attract pressure, and you invite them to have the ball more, and you invite them to attack you more and to be more dangerous. And the more they are on your pitch, yeah, one day it can happen that you can kill them on counter-attack and score the second goal. But 80 or 90% of the time it backfires because you invite pressure and there's a penalty, there's a little free kick or a cross rebound. And these are the things that sometimes I feel the coach has brought into the game that are making the players a little bit insecure on the pitch.
And there was another one that I don't agree with 100%, but I really liked it, for example, from our colleague at Sport TV, Carlos Eduardo Mansur, who talked about how football is often not, as many people imagine, controlled, right? All the actions can be controlled as if it were a video game, right? There are a lot of emotions involved. Tuchel maybe didn't have that plan initially and chose a plan where he saw his team being heavily pressured, really pushed against the ropes. He went there and made changes to improve defense. There are several types of reflection when we look at a specific coach's strategy like this one, which was heavily criticized by many people. I'll say it again, I include myself in that group, like Thomas Tuchel's against Argentina. But it's always important to remember that there isn't just one aspect. By the way, you on the other side, which line of thinking do you agree with more? Are you more in line with Fábregas' idea? Or do you agree more with the reflection that Mansur brought up? Share your thoughts on this point about Tuchel in the comments. When we look at the match between Spain and Argentina, for example, it was a game that I think we can say pitted coaches who move between reason and emotion against each other. If we take Scaloni, for example, he was a coach who in recent times, in this World Cup for instance, let tears run down his face on many occasions, in matches, press conferences, and he became known for this human side. And pay attention to this reflection he made about man management throughout the World Cup.
Recently, sitting on Rua da Prensa, I said, this is why I'm a coach, because of what we saw then. I'm not a coach because I like the 4-3 formation, because I like to experience that again, being in a group, being with a teammate, having mate, eating barbecue, playing truco, which is what we've done all our lives. And if all you think about is the match, in the end you get burned out. If you don't enjoy that, I think that's fundamental for us. I've done it my whole life. I've always been someone who supports the group. Wherever I've gone, I've been there supporting. I was never one of the great players. I was always the one who supported. That's why they took me to the World Cup and clubs. They said, Dao, take him, he's a good guy. It wasn't because I played well. And here I think they've understood that. Every time, look, we cut training short to go eat barbecue so that can happen. Those are things we value a lot, and I think maybe for other people it's not important, or that only what happens on the field matters. But in the future, in X years, I still have memories of Malaysia. Year 97 here, and I have Pablo and Walter who are here with me because we went through intense things together. So these are things that are priceless to me, and regardless of any result, these are things you will take with you. Because later, winning or losing, no. But then in 20 years, you meet again and you remember that barbecue. Those are unforgettable things. And we put a lot of emphasis on that. We believe it builds the team. And if we build a team, we are even stronger.
As for De La Fuente, on the other hand, he's the kind of coach who exudes knowledge. You can see that he's a guy who really understands tactics. And when you look at a guy like him, you immediately think, this guy is subscribed to the Futebol Maximo channel. I have no doubt about it. If you're out there and not subscribed yet, you're missing out, you're wasting time, so click the button here. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because now that you've subscribed, I'm going to show you a very interesting statement from De La Fuente after the World Cup title. He talked about smiling, even in defeat. Check it out.
I really loved how he's a professional who smiles in football. Football today is so boring. You smile. You really do. Football is boring and stressful. In Brazil, winning brings relief, not happiness. One of your lessons is also that you can win and you can live and enjoy football happily. I think that's a message that can be shared with the football world. Thank you.
Yes, you can also lose and still be happy. The satisfaction of a job well done should lead you to that happiness, to that joy. I am fortunate. That's why I have to thank God in my faith for having this opportunity to be here to enjoy these moments. And I am fortunate to lead a group of exceptional professionals and some wonderful soccer players. It's a luxury. And victory is the result of a job well done. But sometimes even so, yes, you lose. And that teaches us that we have to appreciate it when we have the chance to win. And so at all times, I consider myself lucky because I'm doing what makes me happy. I'm happy seeing others happy too. So how could I not smile at life? It would be unfair if I didn't smile at life. And I think it's a good attitude. At least let people see you happy. I think it's something very nice.
Man, that specific phrase of his really got to me, huh? The satisfaction of a job well done has to bring happiness, no matter the result. So along those lines, I think we can't forget to mention two very important people. When we reflect on behavior and each coach's approach in a World Cup setting, the first one is Marcelo El Loco Bielsa, who left the World Cup with a very negative image. And it made us reflect in some way on how long tactical logic should take precedence over emotion in relationships. Now, about Uruguay's campaign, this debate happened often during the World Cup. If we take Carlo Ancelotti's Brazil, for example, we can say that emotion led the coach to give up some things that seemed non-negotiable at other times. For example, to put Neymar against Norway when it wasn't necessary, or after holding Hendrik back for a long time, making him the first choice number 9 for the Brazilian national team. When we're facing a World Cup scenario and coaches who think in very different ways within groups that don't necessarily work together every day, a lot gets lost. Several other elements that can be added may be fundamental in a campaign, in a journey. And there's no right path. The idea of this video is really to discuss that. When we look at this coach, in fact, he's that guy you see as the teacher. The guy who's going to teach a lot, who has a huge theoretical and scientific background. His work in Spain shows that. But throughout this World Cup, he didn't stop valuing the human side at many moments. If we look at Scaloni, we see that he's a very emotional guy. The tears on the sidelines, in the press conferences, his statements show that in the 1922 Copa America, he became better known for tactics as many changes occurred from game to game. In this World Cup, he also made adjustments in terms of personnel and tactics within the team, which were also very important and helped a lot to carry Argentina as far as they went in this World Cup. So all coaches in different ways have a little bit of both things, of reason. They have a little bit of emotion. And this combination is fundamental for a coach to achieve success. There is no recipe, but combining good knowledge and the ability to relate is fundamental in soccer.